Hello, everybody. Welcome back to DM Writer's Room. Today, we're about to go wild style on a new concept, well, an old concept that I think is going to be newly executed for us, which is bounty boards. For publication purposes, our idea is to have a front page with sort of the image of whatever the character is, a bit of information about the bounty and who put it out, and then on the back would be descriptions of the locale, their faction, who they're working with, what they might encounter, etc. So a DM can grab it, flip it around, show it to their players, set it down behind the DM screen, and let it run. We're going to be building it in our home world of Prospect because we have all the rights imaginable to that. We can do whatever we want.
It's extremely true. Just means we also have to make up most of our monster names, so we need to be careful. We've done that in the past where we're like, oh god, what are those awful? It's a SLAD. No, it's not. It's a legally distinct chaos frog.
Yeah.
We've had to do that to ourselves a few times. So today we've decided, looking at the various nations of Prospect, that we want to talk about a little slice of heaven called the Federation of Elders. In the southwest of our nation, the Federation of Elders is one of our only groups that is in an active land conflict. There is a war front between them and the Lophilum Empire. Those two groups are actively clashing and have been, near as I can tell, probably since our sort of calamitous apocalypse, which we named at some point, but that's a little hazy in my mind, because fucking Critical Role was like, the calamity. Good one. Hey, thanks, guys. You couldn't come up with some shit, Mercer? You couldn't call it, like, the Baroche of all... You couldn't say a fantasy name? Alright, whatever. So, I took my glasses off because my temples aren't feeling too sick. The Federation of Elders, a group of mortals who bonded together in a millennia long past, agreeing to be ruled by ancient beings who they felt had perspective. So at some point very far in the past, basically the way our concept for this was, this group of people, quite a large one, assumably maybe even a few, sort of volunteered to be protected by these beings in turn for a certain volume of service, right? They would basically become not quite serfs, but, you know, they would have a liege lord and they would be expected to sort of contribute to the kingdom serving under that figure. The canonical, what is true but has never been written down, is this is what happened to the people who worshipped Verdurin, right? They started to lose some of their power. Verdurin, the god of nature, started to lose some of their power when civilization began to emerge and the wilds of the world started to be claimed. And these people swore these oaths to dragons and hydras and chimeras, these powerful beings with long lives. They basically said, we will serve you, and in turn, please protect us from this changing world. They agreed, and that remained incredibly true for long swath of time, at least 1,000 years.
Yeah.
These people were extremely well protected, only being rediscovered by the Lophilum Empire in the Third Age, after the fall of the Arcane Empire. That's right. Prospect's got that much history
Deep
to
lore.
it. The Federation of Elders is defined by 3 locations, 3 large cities. These are your sort of metropolises. So, you know, you're thinking like, your Los Angeles, your New York City, your London. First is Torval Gosk. It is the site of the, we have to rename this, Zorvental Games. The legally distinct dragon games. Basically, when the Federation of Elders swore their large-scale peace treaty, they had to find a way to settle disputes. The games, I'll just do that. The games were their answer to that. They solve the issues that cannot be solved sort of diplomatically through gladiatorial combat and challenges, which is extremely fun. And we know that because of the very long sort of ages-long perspective that dragons are working with, apparently it does sort of bear out. I think that there's a fun scene in the future where a PC is like, that's how you settle stuff? And the dragon was like, can I tell you something? Honestly, it's kind of arbitrary no matter what. Whatever way you do it, you might as well do it fun. Like, I think is a very funny conversation. Our second location is Zentrovylum, the military capital of the Federation of Elders, the southernmost city, which is sort of brushing near the Lophyllum Empire. And then a place that I just am so curious about, Remgastelon, the last great school of the Arcane left. Because the Arcane Empire fell, the Pylorian technocracy has no such sort of unified school, and the Lophyllum Empire views arcane magic as heretical and do not employ it. So it is the last great school of the arcane left in the world. Looking down here, I'm trying to see if there's anything sort of really central. We have that they have access to immense natural and innate magics. We have that the sort of hoard economy has become part of the way that they function and show status. And we have that canonically, Dragonborn in this world are gifted their Dragonbornness by dragons. So they are basically anointed lords, knights, whatever it is that you would want to call them. They bear that status physically and literally pass it on to their children, right? It's not a little slip of paper that you need to keep very careful hold of and not get outmaneuvered by your cousin. You are a Dragonborn. Your children will be Dragonborn. It is passed in that way. We have a couple of people living there. We have Carnex Jordan, the current that's right, the current champion of the games. He is a red dragonborn. We have the green dragon Umrath, the current lore master of the Federation, set up in Remgastelon, a vile and pernicious green dragon hoarding knowledge that was heavily injured during the Cataclysm. And bears those scars and a great deal of resentment over the whole affair. And lastly, the only human to have a federated state, Lapis Lynette, who is handed it down by a white dragon who gifted it to her at their passing. And of course we have that the Federation has been like consumed by war in recent years. They are a large military engine, though, and so we do have canonically that they are it's hard to tell who's going to win, but the Federation is almost certainly not going to lose, right? It is more like this is the kind of situation where either the Federation will win or this will end in a draw, because they outgun the Empire by such a large margin that loss is just woefully unlikely. None of the great dragon lords are even involved in the conflict at this point, right? Not one of them has been like, well, I guess I'll go immediately win this battle. They just haven't even bothered with that yet. So that's our background. They have this pretty large area that they are in charge of. That is this almost sort of Adirondacks style set of mountains that kind of carve and wend and wheel, lots of lakes and rivers and valleys, the kind of place that is extremely difficult to invade. So that's our setting. And now we need 5 bounties that this immense and really probably quite strange. I can't imagine culturally what these places must be like. They must be so distinct from one another to be under such unified, like we can get into the weirdness of the politics of like unified rule that they were signed up for, generations ago. Unified aesthetics. Over long years, right? We're talking about dragons that live to be over 1,000, over I think 2,000 years old, that if they do hand this kingdom off, they hand it off to their child, who will also live to be like 2,000 plus years old. So what makes you an enemy of the state in the Federation of Elders? What gets a bounty put on your head?
First thought I had, somebody that tampered with Zorbental games.
Ooh, a cheater?
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was an interloper. Somebody stealing from a hoard that is not a dragon. So that's just thievery. If you're a dragon, you take another dragon's hoard, you won. if you're a human and you steal another dragon's hoard, you're a criminal.
Interesting. So we've got we're also making some things true about the world. Number one, can we name the dragon who came up with those games so we can stop accidentally calling it the Zorvental? Because we're gonna get sued by Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
And can I say something? I don't know what they're gonna take. They can have I got a couple of water bottles, so like I got an Nalgene they can have, but that's about the top of the roster.
My thought was calling it the scaled contest. And I like it because of the idea of it being on scales, like, oh, you know, the justice scales of justice is what I'm thinking.
I like the scaled contest. Feels a little fantasy.
Yeah.
The scaled games, the scaled contest, the scaled. Could somebody who's not running the stream hop into good old fashioned thesaurus.com?
Yeah, Michael got it.
Pop me in with a contest or a games. Can I say something? Is it the scaled court? It's where they sort of settle disputes.
I like that. You got competition, match, tournament, game, meet, event, trial, bout.
The scaled trial and the scaled. Go back a couple.
Tournament, game, meet, event,
tournament,
trial.
I like tournament, and I like the scaled tournament and the scaled trial are both very good.
I like trial. Michael?
The scaled cup.
Give like a physical thing for being the winner.
I like trial. I like cup. Very different energies, right? Is it mostly sport or is it mostly dispute settling? I think that's the real.
Mm-hmm.
And we had flavored it as mostly being sport with Jordan. Was that he's like a super athlete as far as the world is concerned.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to assume that when the games were first invented, right, they were a very practical measure to get these problems solved, and that has probably faded. Right, these are now complex political entities that trade with other nations, and have to deal with all of that stuff all of the time. At this point, I imagine not a lot of people are settling land disputes by battling to the death in a big tournament. So I imagine that nowadays this is mostly sport.
I think so.
If we want it to be a bit older, where it was more like things at stake, the scaled gamble.
Scaled gamble, the scaled gambit. Sort of
we like a gambit.
We do love a gambit. One step to the left or right, and we're in. We like a dude who throws cards in a crop top. I guess we're very 80s X-Men people here. Okay, so let's make a choice here. So I see three good options. We've got trial, we've got cup, and we've got gamble. We're kind of choosing a flavor here. Trial gives authority. It tells me that I hear like ba, 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 ba. I hear horns for the trial. The cup is like a big soccer match, right? The cup has this like more staccatic energy. We're mostly hearing cheering and crowds. Jordan, right? The gamble adds, well, first of all, means that you can bet on these affairs, right? That this is sort of a gambling entity. It adds an element of sport, distinct from physical sport as in like who's gonna do it this year. Do we have preference?
I think for the actual thing, it is called the scaled trial. I think there's a black market understanding that like Thieves' Cant essentially would call it like the great gamble. Every time it occurs, they get to throw their hat in the ring and make infinite money.
The gamble is the great grumble.
Yeah, the great grumbles happens the next day for all the people who lost.
I think the scaled trial is the like official event. The unofficial event, I would like to pitch the name the Hoard's Gamble.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank goodness. So there, a little bit of world building. So that one's free. Go buy Lich's Dollhouse. go to Draft Through RPG.
Cough it up.
$3. That was $3 worth of content right there. Okay, so we have the scaled trial. So we have somebody interfered with the scaled trial and that puts them immediately squarely on the shit list. There is an interloper, and an interloper is what you call basically somebody from a like a foreigner who steals from a hoard is tantamount to murder, right? It is one of the worst crimes you can commit, is as an outsider to take, which makes sense, right? This is a group of people who are not only hyper-possessive by nature, but who also have the role of being hyper-possessive, right? These dragons still think of themselves as the guardians of their people, right? We've sort of framed them to not be super corrupt. There are obviously corrupt leaders. You know, we have Umrath here. But it seems like, by and large, they take the defense of their people fairly seriously, which I think is...
Yeah, none of them are opening up the door to their land so people get killed.
So we have an interloper. We have somebody that has interfered with the scaled trial. I love all of that. I think we need sort of a rogue wizard. I think we need somebody who was expelled from Rimgastelon.
That's fun.
Somebody who did
former student or teacher.
Somebody
scribe,
who
scholar.
did something that makes you not be banished from the I can't find a good name. We have it as school, and that sucks. You know, somebody who's been banished from the academy, the halls, something like that. Definitely at least academy. School of Magic. So what a nerd. Somebody who's been banned from the academy.
Vice President Golden Horde.
There we go. So now I need somebody for Zentro Vilum. So what's the big crime for the military here? Is it desertion? Is it betraying? Did somebody defect?
Could be a spy.
A spy. Okay. Zentro Vilum, spy. There we go. So that's 4 very loose concepts, and then we're going to get into it. We're only 10 minutes in, so we're going at a beautiful clip here. I'm glad we started early, because we had to sort of rehash the Federation's role in the world. I'm trying to think. So we've got 4 that are linked to locations and roles, right? We have somebody who's connected to this idea of hordes. We have somebody connected to the games, somebody connected to the academy, somebody connected to the Zentro Vilum, the military center of the Federation. My brain keeps saying ministry. It's a religious term, but it doesn't have to be in our world, right? Somebody can have come up with something else for it. So what's a 5th thing that's going on?
I got one. I think the corruption from the magic disruption that occurred that we can't call calamity. We talked about how that corrupted some of the great monsters of the world and turned them into pretty disgusting things.
Yeah, so just to clarify the lore for anybody listening now or in the future, basically anybody who... So low-level spellcasters survived. Moderate-level spellcasters, moderate to like low-high, so if we're being frank here, like if you're like level 5 up through like level 18 casters, died, just immediately killed. Their bodies like unmade by the destruction of that magic. Level 19 and above and powerful magical creatures were warped, were shifted and changed drastically. Yeah, and some of them became sort of the great monsters. We know that one of my favorite lore things that is probably like a secret in the world or something that nobody really knows. The ocean has become impossibly dangerous. You can't travel in the sea basically at all. And the reason is because a large part of the continent that the Arcane Empire was in control of literally just sunk into the sea. And the powerful casters and the powerful spirits, our lower gods that were there, turned into leviathans and sea monsters and krakens, and they are why everybody alive now that it's been like at least a couple hundred years, I think, over that.
I think it's been like 600.
These people, as far as they all just know, you can't travel in the ocean; it's too dangerous. That these monsters emerged. I don't think they necessarily have put together it. These are those archmages. These are those powerful beings. So just to clarify that, so our last one is something native to this area that was changed when the world was changed.
Exactly. This would be like the former headmaster of Ringastalon, or something like that. That's just been a looming threat that hasn't been taken care of, or is now rearing its ugly head.
And for those of you who are thinking, like, dragons are magical, we're referring to literally beings with a great deal of arcane power. Beings that are sort of dedicated and entrenched in arcane power is what we're talking about. And while there are variants of green dragons that have spell casting, there is no sort of canonical spell casting. I'm also not sure we can even do those dragon colors. Gosh, making stuff for Wizards of the Coast 5 years ago was so fun, so chill, so normal. And now you're kind of trying to lean back and look at what Hasbro's going to do in the next couple years when you're trying to write for 5e. Michael, what's up?
I will say, if we have to change color dragons, I've already got an idea for what we change them to. They'd all be gem dragons.
They already did gem dragons.
They did?
Yeah, that was in
yes, but
Bands, right?
Other companies did it first, so they don't own those.
They can't call it.
But no, I like the gemstone dragons as a concept, for sure in the world. I think we probably just have dragons, and their coloration and other things are unimportant to their character, right? What we can't have is a system of chromatic and metallic dragons whose personalities are reflected by the color that they are, in reflection of Tiamat, the mother of dragons, Bahamut, the creator of metallic dragons, and R something? The gemstone dragon's name starts with R.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Right, so that's all it is that we have to change. So we can sort of think our way out of that box, I think pretty cleanly.
And we kind of already have. Our dragons are leaders of places. Yeah. They're not, that sort of delineated in the way they handle things.
And also in this world, it seems like, from what we've described in lore, each dragon is distinct. We don't have, like, large categories of dragon, right? I am not under the impression that Umrath is, and there's not other dragons like Umrath in a way that there's not other dragons like any of the others that we have sort of casually mentioned in passing. And we also have the ultimate dragon, Big Bad. I'm not sure what the Federation feels about that. We have the Great Worm, the horrible abomination created by an archmage on purpose, halfway across the world in the big desert.
Just throw them on the bounty board.
Yes. Just the secret sixth one. You do all 5 other bounties, and they're like, "Well, we do have this for you.
We do have a CR 30 if you want to go out in the desert and die like a dog. We do have a CR 30 adventure you can go on. So, okay, we've got the Interloper, the Scaled Trial, the Rogue Wizard, the Zentrovylum Spy, and the Changed. This being sundered and unmade somewhat. Those are all very exciting. We're going to have to move at a pretty good clip here. Spencer, what is our end time today? You are the grand arbiter of that choice.
It's going to have to be 8:15, so we have 1 hour.
Good.
Okay, so if we have 1 hour, that means we have 12 or so minutes per. So let's try to knock them out in 10, because we're going to go over. But let's, try to account for that, and maybe we'll do a bit at the end if we did a good job.
If we're trying to go fast, I got an idea for the cheater. I think, he's Dragonborn. He's lesser known. He cheated himself into, like, 5th place. Nothing high, nothing low. He got some fame, got some money out of it.
It's fun.
And that's enough to get you wanted on a federal level?
It's the games.
Right. So we have the Scaled Trial cheater here. We have somebody who is, we know that they have been blessed. They are a Dragonborn. And they didn't want to come in first place. So, not taking the time to cheat, but not taking the time to cheat so well that you come in first place, actually gives us a lot of information, right? It was important that they place in this event. And they didn't want to be suspicious. So this is a clever figure. This is not somebody who got a 100 when they cheated on their exam. They got a B+. They were like, that's what I need to pass the class. I'm not here to get caught. So they shoot for this like 5th place medal. So what our next choice that we need to make is, what did they want, right? Why was it so important that they place in this event? It could be that they weren't a Dragonborn before, and so their grand crime is stealing being Dragonborn, right? They entered as a normal person to win becoming a Dragonborn and therefore being considered like a lesser noble. They placed the last place you can get in and still be one, were found out after the fact, and now are seen as having stolen their being, as having stolen Dragonbornness.
Pretty interesting. I was picturing like the 3rd child of somebody who is gifted being a Dragonborn going out to prove themselves, get the games in the favor of that family. So it's like, oh, we beat the person in 8th place, which is our conflict, but I'm not going to get 1st place because that would be super suspicious. Make a name for myself, prove myself to the family, and win the contest against whatever enemy lordship they were against.
Okay. So when you enter the scaled trial, all right. So we've sort of decided something about the games here that I think is very good. You enter the scaled trial, you turn in your sign-up slip, and you say, these are the 3 disputes I have. These are the states that I have those disputes with. Everybody plays through the trial, and it's not one-on-one battles. It's one massive event. Everybody places, they look at those leaderboards, and if they placed above you, they just cross it out. If they placed below you, you have sort of succeeded, and we solve that problem, whatever it is, that is. I think that's really interesting, right? Because it also means people are sort of jockeying for position constantly. For some people, it's not good enough to come above the 1 problem they have. They have 3, and they need to sort of balance all of that out. This person had a dispute and only really needed to beat 1 person, and so landed themselves in 5th to beat somebody that was in like 8th, which also means that has like blown up in their face, right? Because they're on the bounty
now it's
board.
Like, oh no, I had to beat them. They came in 6th. I had to get on the podium. And now I'm suspicious because I was one of 5 winners of the games. That's bad. So now it's come out that they cheated because there's no way they should have been in 5th.
Can I say our champions of the game? I don't remember his name.
Karnex Jordan.
How many times has he won now?
We don't have a number of times. We have him as the champion of the scaled trial.
So he's won at least a few times. I think it'd be cool to make him an asshole who constantly he puts up like 100 bouts and he always wins. So he's always
any little discrepancy he can find, any little slight he puts in. Okay.
And because he knows he will win.
I think to counter that, it's not him. It's not Michael Jordan himself making the trials. He's serving one of the Dragon Lords. And that Dragon Lord is shitty. And it's like, well, I've got the greatest champion. I'm going to say any dispute I want because I'm going to win.
We do have canon forever ago, if memory serves. I think my memory does. Is that the dragon is Karnex and that you take the name. And so Karnex takes the name of the red dragon he serves, and so his name is Jordan, his thing. So he probably has a middle name, right? They probably have the
family name.
Yeah, exactly, like a state name, a family name, and then their own personal name is their last name, which is kind of fun, right? Their sort of casual name would be their last name. All right, so that's definitely cool to know. I will note it down.
Yeah, sorry, not bounties at all. I just want to say without forgetting.
Karnak sucks. That's very funny. Okay, so what is this then, right? We have this like third son of a noble house trying to do something good. Maybe it's like a trade dispute. Maybe it's a land dispute. It's got to be something substantial enough that they sort of would have. I think that the problem is a bunch of damage needs to have been done for this to be kind of exciting, and this person needs to not be too apologetic. So I think my pitch is they laid a false claim that another state had like stolen from their hoard. Mm-hmm. They put that in as a false claim and then won by cheating. That payment was paid, right? That was done. They were forced to pay a part of their hoard to them in error, and then they were found out after the fact, and now he is on the run.
Yep.
Okay, enemy in 6th.
I think it would be interesting for the people to have posted this to be this cheater's family.
They have to be
like,
they have to save face.
To regain our honor, we have a bounty out for our child.
Yeah.
Family posted out of necessity. I love that. Okay, so that's all background. That's great. We have... So what does this person do, though? Like, what is this person's deal? Are they an athlete? And that is, are we fighting somebody with a great deal of athletic skill? And so I guess they would be in the sort of like, are they a boxer or something like that?
I mean, he's gonna be a cheater too.
Yeah, or are they, sort of a roguish... We already have a spy on the roster. You know what I mean?
We have a spy on the roster, and we have the group that stole from a hoard. And I think both of those are going to be more sneaky. I think that this is a champion. This is a fighter type that you're going to be encountering.
Yeah, I was thinking either fighter, or if we want to go with, it's still trickery, like a bard. With charms and all that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to character class lock this person. So I think we have a very charismatic fighter who has the kind of leader role. My second question was going to be, who is supporting them? Sounds like they have a band of mercenaries, maybe, or...
Yeah, it would make sense. I don't know, we haven't really settled on that. If people go into the games alone, or if they have a retinue, essentially, that aid them, how many people they get to have with them, etc. No idea. This person has some people who throw down with them. They're courtiers, I guess. But mercenary band is probably more apt.
Yeah, and so they're trying to sort of make their way out of the Federation as quickly as they can. And you are tasked to sort of intercept. Very interesting. Very cowboy.
Ooh, and they took the hoard that they had gained by lying. They took it and ran after they knew that they'd placed too high. So you're recovering the hoard, and you are taking the head of the cheater.
What's so fun with that is that the party has to absolutely and completely resist the urge to take a single gold piece. Because I like the idea that, like, if you took a copper piece, they would be like, this pile is short. And you'd be like, all you did was look at it. Like, you didn't count. What do you mean?
I didn't. I smelled it, and I knew it was short. And I smell a copper piece in your pocket.
All right, so we have a fighter type who is supported by mercenaries. They absconded with this hoard, and you are sort of interfering with them while they are fleeing. So what I like about this is on the back of that sheet, I think they're going to have sort of like multiple locations going out. So it'll be like one here, one at a mountain pass, one on the other side, one on the side of a river, sort of slowly dotting their way out. Because if they get out of the Federation, they are totally golden. Because we do have that the Federation is not an imperial force. They do not push out ever. They make trade deals. They deal, in sort of what they have locally. They do not push and expand. All right. That's our scale. That's our cheater taken care of. Great. All right. Up next on our list is an interloper. An interloper. We can keep that even the canonical name. I don't mind that. An interloper is an outsider who steals from a hoard. And this is one of the like high crimes. This is sort of treason equivalent, which I think is very interesting. The obvious
answer here is a thieves guild has pushed into town and done something that maybe they didn't even realize was as big of a crime as it is. They went, ooh, dragon's hoard? We're taking that. That sounds incredible. And they went and stole 87 spell tomes from our fucked up dragon who's an asshole.
Oh, okay.
Or anything. You know, it could be anything.
No, listen, this is a collaborative creative space. We run with it. Umrath lost some tomes. I like the idea, you know, there's this sort of into deep energy that I enjoy. It's a thieves guild, so it's not like they were super chill dudes.
They're criminals.
We tend to have a, especially in the world of Prospect, right? There's not there's no meaningful reason to associate somebody being a criminal with them being a bad person, right? We're dealing with these large capitalist, empirical, empire-driven powers. So this is one of those few cases where somebody like needs to be kind of shitty, right? Because we don't want the party to be wishy-washy about collecting this bounty. This isn't a Robin Hood band of thieves stealing from the rich to give to the poor. This is a thieves guild. They rob houses, they rob people, they extort businesses, they charge protection fees. These dudes are the worst. And they just took the wrong gig, right? They robbed I think I would like to offer, because it doesn't make sense to me that they got into the Horde. I think they robbed a caravan going to Umrath's palace. It already counts, right? At this point,
it's in the lands.
Yeah, it had crossed the border and so was part of the Horde. They steal these tomes, and I like the idea that, you know, you have these sort of rapscallion types that immediately know they're screwed, because I love the feeling of that scene, right? They kill the guards, slaughter everybody who helped, open the doors, and it's full of books, and they all oh, fuck. There's one person, there's one being that would be doing this. So we either just robbed Umrath or we just robbed Ramgastalon. We're fucked.
Either way.
We have done a bad job. Okay, so Umrath lost some tomes. They know they are pursued. I kind of like the idea that this is a sort of like trap-driven dungeon. So I think that they
know it's coming, and they're trying to keep themselves protected.
So I think they fell back to their like hideout. I think you're headed off into the woods or into the mountains, and you need to go find this hideout and try to get your way inside. And it is just so heavily trapped, so many like murder holes that they can fire through that you will have like disadvantage to fire back through. It's just countless things like that, and the roguish ability to a new Tasha's Cauldron of Everything ability that we can sort of borrow from, because the abilities can't be very well copywrote, is rogues now have an ability in some cases to use a bonus action to give themselves advantage on a ranged attack. So what I like is one of the features of this dungeon will be these very narrow like murder slots, where it is at disadvantage to fire into or out of, but a rogue can just cut that disadvantage down to regular. The normal players can't. They're boned. Spencer, you are a big wall of purple bars.
Sounds about right. Let me turn my camera off and back on.
If I can add something.
There he is.
Whoever the bandit captain is, could we give him like one small lair action because we're in his lair?
Yeah, we can give him a full suite.
I wasn't sure how hard we want to make this encounter.
This guy feels like this is like a level 6 party to me, would be encountering this. Whereas the last group, I would say closer to level 3.
Really? I was thinking a little higher.
It could be. The way I saw the last group was it's a group of bandits with a leader who happen to be flavored differently. You follow them, and you kill them. This is a layer with traps with people who have successfully swindled this town, this fief, for a while. So I was picturing higher.
I'd like to pitch full construction. Melric the Shade. We got just a dude with a rifle.
Yeah.
We have a dude with a long rifle. That is a problem, right?
Sure.
They've got this fortress, and this gives us the really fun opportunity. If you can, you would like for the players to really hate somebody before they get the chance to fight them 101. I like the idea that as they are making the way through the fort, basically when we publish this adventure, we will have like red zones, and as the party is moving their way through, anytime they are in a red zone, Melric can fire at them. He has a line of sight from wherever the hell he is in this compound, and so the party just hears a pop, and they're like, ah! Like, building that anxiety as they continue to move through, I think is really, really fun.
Like the Gatling gun in Bloodborne.
Yep.
Yeah, like the Gatling gun in Bloodborne. So this sort of recurring danger zones. Okay.
That one's pretty much settled in and of itself. We've got the faction. We've got who put the hit out. We've got location.
Yeah, my only question is, so this is like so no, we do know who is sort of supporting Melric. It's the rest of the Thieves Guild, right? It is a group of people that are going to constantly be ambushing and skirmishing. We could probably have a little bit of fun and really do like, have a little John in there, play on a couple of types and have some fun. Okay. On to the next. Probably our highest level bad guy going off of the list I'm looking at, except for that changed shifter. We have at the bottom, we have our rogue wizard. We have somebody who got drummed out of Remgastelon. So number one, we have three options sort of, I think, laying out before us. We have number one, somebody who is drummed out, somebody who failed out of higher levels, like failed out of those higher level casting classes and has turned heel after. Option two, we have somebody who killed somebody and that's what made them leave. And then option three, we have somebody who did something you're not allowed to do.
Yeah, the forbidden magics.
They did some necromancy. Actually, there's no reasonable reason for the Remgastelon to care about doing necromancy too much. They did a forbidden spell. I like the idea. My first thought, it's fun to sort of try to influence magic everywhere the players go, right? Magic would be part of the world in a way that I think we know that the Lophilam Empire has not explicitly banned arcane magic. They frown upon it. They have banned necromancy. Necromancy, including revivify, is illegal in the Empire. I think that it would be fun to have the Federation of Elders have banned a school of magic.
My thought was
or
doing
a like type of thing. Like there's something about magic you aren't allowed to do, because if we root it mechanically, it makes it matter more to the players when they are interacting with a space.
Do we want to make it like illusory? They think it's a dishonorable lies.
Spencer, do you have a pitch? I was thinking enchantment.
I was thinking less mechanically, which was this person was doing humanoid experiments to create Dragonborn. Whereas only dragons should be able to do that. They were figuring out how to do it regardless. So the dragon said, whoa, absolutely not. That's one of our main things that keep people loyal to us. But I don't know what school of magic would fit in.
Change mutation.
Yeah.
So we've got sort of bootleg Dragonborn. I was thinking enchantment just because mind control is kind of goofy, right? That's got some stuff to it. Or Michael, could you refresh my memory?
Illusory.
Illusory because it's thought of as sort of dishonorable. Compelling. Do we have?
They all fit.
They do all fit. Okay, so let's take a step back then. What does sort of breaking this? It needs to be a pretty heinous thing.
And that's why I was thinking the human experimentation is many people died. It's not a good thing to try and make this transformation if you're not able to do it.
I wonder if we can sort of hybridize here a little bit. like they broke multiple rules by doing one thing. So I'm wondering if they experimented on people, they mind controlled them to do it, and it's against the rules to keep secrets from Remgastelon, right? I think that's as close as I can get to the illusion magic concept sort of flowing in here, right? Is it's against the rules. You're not allowed to have your like fun super secret wizard spellbook. Everything you discover while at Remgastelon is the property of Remgastelon.
It's called like called the Pact of Truth. You must share the information. Yeah,
the Pact of Truth.
That works.
Ironically, looking to Warlock subclasses, the Pact of the Tome, right?
Yeah.
That all things are shared. Remgastelon is a place where knowledge is spread, not a place where it is ironically hoarded. All right, deeply funny. So, human experimentation or mortal experimentation, I guess. And the sort of important facet of that experimentation, the end goal, was this sort of dragonborn thing, dragonborn recreation. So there's not a lot to be gained from making a bootleg dragonborn, right? They aren't going to have the documentation they need. They aren't going to be connected to a dragon. It is somewhat non-functional, which tells me that this person has some other goal, right? They are trying to destabilize the political structure of the Federation of Elders by taking this nobility clause out of the equation by saying, you know, it's sort of the fucking Incredible syndrome, right? If anybody can be a superhero, nobody is a superhero. Yeah. If you can make anybody a dragonborn at will, then there is no longer any political sway held by being one. You could flood the market in a very real way. So we have a sort of anarchy angle coming in from this person, right? We have this sort of anarchistic vibe, unless we want to make it so that
there's a benefit to being a dragonborn.
Yeah, if you're a dragonborn. So first of all, we would need to do two things. One, nobody gets to start as a dragonborn in our setting. And two, if you start as a dragonborn, you also gain a feat at level 1. Right? When you become a dragonborn, you gain a feat.
My thought was dragonborn live exponentially longer than humans.
Oh, there are elves?
Yeah, exactly. Dragons live for 2,000 years. The thing they've imbued with their spirit should live longer. Maybe not as long, not 2,000 years, but a few hundred. And that's why the families of lords are powerful, and there's the monoculture within their fiefdoms. It's because the same lord has been there for a couple hundred years, following the same dragon and the same principles.
Because in our world, the sort of spread of the Arcane Empire and then sort of ubiquitous travel has made it so that there is no strong racial component, right? Everything is national lines. It's all nation sort of based. So our elves, we currently have as they don't actually live to be very long, to be very old. They have like Assassin's Creed style instinctual memory. They can draw on the memory of their ancestors, and so there is a perception that they have an unnatural amount of knowledge, and therefore people who don't see elves a lot are like, oh, they live thousands of years. They don't. It just seems like they do, because they will have memories they shouldn't have from long ago times that they didn't see. The Dragonborn, absolutely not. Dragonborn just live to be like 250 years old. And so just do live exceptionally long lives. Okay. So this person has already been drummed out of the academy. They have been forced out for breaking. I see 3 pretty clear-cut rules that they broke here, right? They kept the secret. They tried to make a dragonborn, and they experimented on mortal beings. I imagine that these are our 3 problems. You are not allowed to experiment on a mortal. You are not allowed to try to create a dragonborn or to interfere in that way, and you are not allowed to not reveal your research. And that would just have been tagged on in the end as, worst of all, you also broke the first oath you take. You broke the pact of truth when you didn't start to turn over the progress that you made in those early days. You could have been steered away from this then. The minute you started to research and you discovered that you could abuse some degree of the power, you would have been stopped. Instead, you kept it a secret, and now it's too late. You are banned from the Academy. Is being banned from the Academy being banned from the Federation? Are you not a citizen anymore?
Yeah, I think yes. I think that you are given citizenship through your service to the Academy. And I was going to say, for a finicky note that I think could be fun, it's not that you can't experiment on mortals. Inevitably, there's going to be times where they need to do that. It's that you can't experiment on citizens of the Federation, members of the Federation, right? They're under the protection of the dragons in the area. If you start doing that, there's a problem. We don't have any connection with the outside world.
So we've got kind of we have sort of a two note version there, right? We need to make a pretty big choice about the Federation of Elders. Option 1, you can volunteer to be a subject, and you are either paid a inordinate sum of money for the risk, or you are made a citizen after you have had the experiment done on you, and like your children and spouse are citizens. So even if you die, which happens, right, you are still sort of incorporated. Your family will still be incorporated. Or there is a huge monetary component, and your family will be paid out regardless. So that's option A, and that leaves the Federation as morally dubious. Option B, this is what happens to prisoners of war.
Yeah.
A POW from the Lophilam Empire is brought to Remgastelon and experimented on. This could not be a bigger choice for the sort of moral overview of the Federation.
It's hard.
One deprioritizes life over money, which makes sense, right? These are dragons. The life of short-lived mortals, as much as they defend their people and all that, is seen as cheap to them. They're like, we'll give him 1,000 gold if he dies. Who gives a shit? Like, I don't care. Give him 5 diamonds, whatever. You know, it's 1,000 gold is an understatement. Give them 10,000 gold if they die. Who gives a shit? You know, we will pay the weight of the person or something crazy like that. If they're experimenting on prisoners of war, huge jump into war crimes.
Pretty bad.
I think as much as I think we would need to shoot the grim dark ray at our world if we do that. I think everybody else would need to get a lot worse, and that's saying something because everybody else is already like empire forces conquering unwilling people.
Yeah,
we don't have any systemic torture existing in any sort of our other groups, so that would be a pretty drastic escalation.
Yeah, so I think that it's people wanting citizenship within the Federation and or people looking for a big payout. And this person didn't get them in that way.
Oh, this person grabbed POWs.
This person grabbed people they weren't supposed to, because otherwise they would have had to announce what their goals were. And they didn't do that. So they stole people away, experimented on them, they died, and maybe they made a couple fucked up kobolds or something. I don't know.
God, having this be where kobolds came from is pretty powerful.
Pretty sick.
The other idea I had for kobolds that I don't think we can keep, because it wouldn't be true of this world, but I think if the three of us were going to play in this world and nobody else would, I think it would be fine. But I think on a larger scale, eventually it could be taken the wrong way and would, make somebody not have fun playing the game, which is never what we want. My original concept was a Dragonborn line after a while would start to produce kobolds. Was that, it would basically, like, as that magical genetic connection started to break down, when that dragon died, you would start to get this sort of dissipation. Unfortunately, as much as I think that's fun, it also has a lot of
too dark.
it has a lot of parallels to real world racism. So as fun as it is as a concept, I just don't think it's practical, because I think it would lead to some uncomfortable feelings, and never worth it. But I do like the idea that it is the result of this one stupid wizard is pretty funny.
Classic. Everything in this world is the result of some stupid wizard doing something fucked up.
Honestly.
Everything in this entire world. So funny. Have you guys watched Delicious in Dungeon?
I have. I've seen the first few episodes.
No.
Have you met the kobold yet?
No, I haven't. I watched like 2 episodes, but I've been plugging away at some other stuff. Yeah,
which I thought was an interesting take on kobolds. I had never heard.
That's the original in German. In German, I think Germanic lore, kobolds are dog people. Kobold is also just German. Is I think just German or Germanic for goblin. So D&D was, I think, or maybe if memory serves, I think actually the Forgotten Realms was the first thing to be like, they're dragons, like just for the fun of it, just to give sort of an alternate take and then attach them to the kind of dragon life cycle, which always makes me think of the orcs from Warhammer 40k. Do you guys know that? Yeah. So like orcs spawn fungus, and that spawns these like other smaller servile creatures. That's always where I mentally went with kobolds. My other favorite concept we did, I think it might be true of Prospect, but we can change it, is if a dragon goes somewhere and 10 years pass, any lizard in the area will slowly start to turn into kobolds over a couple generations. Like, it's just a natural effect of a dragon being near an area, is that lizards, the lizards and geckos and whatnot start to become bipedal and intelligent. Is so funny. Cool. Okay, so we wasted a little bit of time, so we're going to borrow a couple of minutes from our pool there. They broke the Pact of Truth. They broke the Pact of Truth. They broke the Pact of the Dragonborn or some stuff like that. They broke the Pact of Loyalty. And then they broke the Pact of the Willing. They did this final step, which is probably the greatest crime, that they committed. And so they are stripped of their citizenship and are exiled and are now hunted actively. There's a bounty posted upon them. That leaves us just with, like, who are they? Who helps them? And what are they doing right now, right? We know that the interlopers are holed up. We know that the scaled cheater, the cheater of the scaled trial, is trying to get away. What is this person doing, and who is helping them do it?
Could another somewhere from outside the elders be trying to help them because they want the secrets of Dragonborns?
Oh yeah, somebody from the technocracy is paying the big bucks, is like trying to fund them getting out. That would be interesting. So you roll up and there's some like technocracy mercenaries. There's some people with like, because we one of the things we like about this world is the juxtaposition. So that's like a dude in a suit with a bulletproof vest on, but like 1800s style, rolls up with cowboy boots and is like, "You won't be taking the wizard, I'm afraid." Like,
yeah.
How much is gonna cost me to pay you out to not take this bounty?
I'll give you 1,000 gold pieces if you turn around now.
Can't allow it, I'm afraid. Yeah. All right. So there we go. We have these mercenaries of the technocracy.
Sick. Should we rename kobolds, because that's just a thing that's already being used? Could we call them like whelps or something? Things that
we can sort of revisit that.
Whelps.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that kobold is a fun word, but I think also, does sort of have some oddness to it. Yeah, I mean, they're these like fragments of a dragon, right? They're this echo of what a dragon's power is. I'm wondering if like, I'm thinking dragons draconian, right? They could be like draconids. They could be.
Do the dragons like them?
I'm sure the answer is no.
Okay.
So that's it. So we have to take a half step back, and we need to make an incredibly important choice that we, is, are kobolds I'm gonna keep using that until we name them something else. Are kobolds a thinking, fully developed, playable, mortal group that exists in the world, that has intelligence and does stuff and, you know, has free will? Or are they like a magical byproduct of a dragon existing and have a lizard brain, which everybody, like, are they fundamentally different and don't have the impulses for kindness and generosity, not in a eugenic way, but in a like, no, it's a lizard. Its brain doesn't have wrinkles. It eats and sleeps and has sex, and those are the three things a kobold does. Like, we need to decide which side of that wall we want to come down on right at the beginning.
I think it'd be fun if they're intellectual, they're beings, but all they want to do in life is to make the dragons happy, and the dragons despise them. They hate them.
But we would need to have... So why? Where did they come from then? Right? Did it have something to do with the cataclysm? If they're a pest, why? Right? There's no good reason for a dragon to hate infinite supply of free labor that loves them. There's no meaningful reason for them to not be happy with that. So what about that is... It needs to, like, go past... either it's offensive and we are adding a sort of negative texture to the dragons, right? That they have this deep hate for them because they look frail and weak and small, and they think they are a disgrace to dragons and dragonborn, these sort of mighty creatures. They view them as lesser. Pretty dark. Or they are a problem for some reason, right? There is something about a kobolds being around that negatively affects the dragon. Whatever that is.
Yeah, my first inclination was, if we're going with they're created by this failed experiment, it's that they're loyal to the dragons, if we're going that bend. The dragons don't accept them because they are a fucked up bastardization of the thing that they think is a pure honor of the mortals that they serve.
Okay, so they are not part of their own issue, right? They are a cultural problem. They are just seen as a cultural issue because they are they don't fit into this thing, and more importantly, they subvert it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys, this is just anytime I look down and start writing, you guys should just chat. Sorry. Just chit chat about what's up. This is.
I'm just thinking.
We're on that. Yeah. This is a syndicated show. We can't just sit here in meditative silence.
I was thinking of the fact that we have circled back to the regular kobold ideal, which is a sentient, fucked up little group that you can be a player with, and you can play them as a race. But you also, just as likely, are going to go to one of their villages and kill them as an adventurer, which is always dark in my mind.
Yeah, I'll say I'm playing as a kobold. The stats or the increases and stuff you get from playing kobold, rough. Especially when you first were able to play as kobolds, they were very bad.
Yeah. I think their role in the world is to show the flaw in the Federation, right? And I think there is something valuable there. We tried in the world design as much as possible, because we are three white dudes, to not play with a sort of racial hierarchy, right? It's not our business. We don't belong in that space. I think that this is not tapping into that. I don't think players are likely to go cut low a bunch of kobolds unless they are doing it on the orders of a dragon, on the knowledge that it is a morally bad thing to do, right? They're like, oh, gross, there's kobolds, go get them. And, maybe a low-level party goes in thinking that they're going to run into these, only existing to eat and spread group, and instead they find a fully sentient village minding their own business with a garden, and they're like, oh no,
never mind.
Right? The Federation has ancient laws. people have probably, I think that maybe anytime somebody tries to make, because it's unlikely that this one random wizard did this and nobody else has done it before, right? Anytime somebody tries to make a dragonborn, they make kobolds. Like, that's the result. And so there is this long-standing bitter dislike, and it's a way to sort of elevate the problem with the Federation, which is having an ancient force rule over you with no real say, is that the kobolds stand out as this weird space where it's like, well, they're pests. And you're like, yeah, but they're not different than people. And they're like, yeah, they are. They're kobolds. And you're like they're not. I
was just in their town and they're pretty cool.
You're like they're like, you let is it because they are diminutive? You let goblins and gnomes live here? Like, what do you mean? And they're like, they're you're the one being weird, right?
Kobolds are a bastardization of something very good.
The dragons,
no, they're not.
The dragons having this blind spot, is something that we can sort of toy with a little bit. So it also is just like most kobolds just leave. Like, I don't think there's a big kobold population in the Federation of Elders because they just leave. They just screw off to somewhere else, and they're probably not well accepted in the Lophilam Empire, but they can make their way north, go through the desert go through the wastes, and they kick out on the other side and join the technocracy or whatever. Interesting. All right, huge diversion there. Fun one though. So, mercenaries of the technocracy. I think we should do a. I think they're trying to get on the train. 310 to Yuma style. I think they're trying to get to the train because that's the easiest way out. And I think that's what you're interrupting, right? Some powerful somebody at the technocracy has just paid their way through to get on the train. They paid the 20,000 gold or whatever it is because it's chump change to them to get 5 tickets.
Yep.
Get on the train, get off in the city. You'll work here. Congratulations, you're the richest person you've ever met. You know what I mean? It's pretty classic.
Yeah. I want to become a dragonborn because I want to live 300 years, please. I'll pay your way. That makes sense for a rich asshole.
Yeah. It's very Altered Carbon.
Yeah.
If you watched that show.
First season.
I have.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anytime you have this sort of these like weird, I think that something that we need to decide at some point in the interim when we are thinking about the way people will play in our game and the way that we will write adventures is like, is there adventures where it's go fight goblins? Probably not, right? When I think about Prospect, I do not imagine go cleanse, right? There's no good way in this state, right? It would be like, hey, we're trying to get a hold of the mining rights to this town. Go make sure we get them. And you're like, what? Like, I think that when we try to come up with adventures, we keep sort of falling back on the Forgotten Realms of it all without accounting for the fact that this is essentially a like diesel punk world.
Yep.
Where that's not the threat. And the threat is like monsters and adversaries, is like other groups trying to gambit their way in. You aren't on the side of this sort of weird kind of Forgotten Realms Greyhawk, these like ethno-state driven weirdness that comes from Gary Gygax thinking that Native Americans can't think and the other crazy stuff he used to say on message boards. We're kind of playing with a different set there, so it makes it way more complicated to write adventures, though. It's a lot easier when you can say, kobolds are attacking the mine. Oh, no. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you're going on quests to kill some goblins, it's probably a bad gang of goblins that robbed a bank a little bit ago.
Yeah, it's Goblin Muck's boy gang or whatever. They tried to turn over a train car.
The Piedmont Bayfish Boys.
They're here. Boys. Yeah, exactly.
That joke is for nobody. All right. We've got 14 minutes on the clock. We're going at a decent pace. We got 2 people left. We're probably not going to get through both of them unless we really nail both back to back here. So up next, we have a spy who was spying on Zentrovilum. Number 1, have you been invited? Is the point of this bounty, we know there is a spy. we are at war, we don't have time to do this, you do it? Or is it, we found a spy, they broke out of custody, we have lost them in the mountains, go get them?
This is, we know that there's a spy within this unit, figure out who it is and kill him.
I hate to note, my first bubble is Among Us. I don't want it.
Mogus.
I don't want it to be, but it is. It is Among Us. Okay. So, number one, so this spy then, who are they a spy for? Probably the Lifewoken Empire, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Which means they are a Lifewoken spy. That means they serve, they kind of serve Respis. They mostly serve, the Phylum Empire, which are scions of the Lifewoken Church. The Lifewoken, we haven't, that word at the end we don't have yet. A church feels kind of weak. The Lifewoken faith is, I suppose, what they serve.
Yeah.
Because they have the God Emperor, is
the child God Emperor who has been switched at birth.
Yeah, I just can't remember the... Well, they haven't been... Yarleth Lifewoken is the God Emperor who is reborn always and is always found and reinstilled in their role as Emperor. They live a normal life until they are about 13 years old, when they are sort of connected to their past selves. Everybody in Prospect is subject to reincarnation. And then they basically live the rest of their life in a fugue, in a state where they are sort of passing in and out of consciousness as they are being consulted in 1,000 places at once. Being constantly asked questions, constantly prayed to. So they basically slip into unconsciousness until they die of old age, and then the next one is found again. Absolutely crazy. Okay, so we have this Lifewoken spy serving, that is stolen something. They've stolen battle plans, they've stolen weapon schematics, they've stolen caravan reports. What did they take? It does not matter. Did they steal documents?
Yeah, it's just documented troop movements. It's like all the above. It's stuff that would give them the other upper hand in the upcoming conflicts.
Yeah, which are sort of constant. Okay. Oh, you know what they could have stolen? One of the very few maps of the Federation of Elders, like an actually detailed, constructed map that shows...
and then you've got who would have had access to that map, and then you narrow down the list. Because it's a mystery.
One of the benefits of having these, centuries and centuries and centuries old creatures is you don't need to keep a map that somebody can steal. There's no need. You can get direct reports from these, ageless beings. And so you can sort of bulletproof the world in a little bit of a way there. That's fucking cool.
Yeah. I think that narrows it down. We don't need to solve the mystery for them. But narrowing the list down to there's only 7 people who had access to the map before it was taken. You had to go talk to those 7 people. Who's helping the spy? No one. Circumstance is helping.
Yeah, you might kill the wrong person, and then you're in trouble. I have this as very low CR ! I think that this is like a CR 2 assassin who is just trying to outmaneuver you, and the party is just going to. It is not a question of will we defeat this person when we find them. It's like, how do we even begin to find them? Right? We have the garrison of troops. There's 30 of them. We have them isolated. We know one of them has it. It's not as simple as searching their bags, because it's like 30 people. It's a full garrison. We can't.
And you can't burn Zone of Truth. You can only do that shit twice a day at this level, 3 times a day.
Yeah, and especially at this low level, find object isn't going to be helpful. And also, this is a little secret from you to me. You can just say, well, unfortunately, they seem to have been given some item from the Lifewoken Empire that makes them immune to divination spells. And so, you're sort of dealing with that. It's like any divination spells, not going to work. So you can't find object. You can't even, cast augury and say, is it this guy? Is it this guy? Is it this guy? Because every time you'll get wheel or woe, like, you'll get the sort of shitty middle option. Eventually the parties are just running around like, Glypho can say what? All right, then I think
they just kill all 30 of them, say, money please.
we're gonna call that solved. I think that might be the looming threat. Is they're like, hey, the state secret matters a lot more. We're about to make the hard choice. We'd like to not.
Yeah.
If you could assist us, that'd be great. If you can't, there's 2 ways to skin this cat. You know what I mean? Like, we've got another path ahead. All right. That was pretty quick. We might do this. All right. And so now we have a straight up and down monster, right? So our process going forward for these in this world is nice and simple. We begin with, what was it before? So what
was it before? It was the headmaster of the academy. The name escapes me.
Remgastelon.
Oh, okay.
God, what did they call their headmaster? That's a cool question, right? Magister Supreme. I don't know. Something spicy. Everything seems to kind of be innately tied to the military and the Federation. So I think that it might be worth giving them a sort of, military title. But we can get there later. So they were the headmaster of Remgastelon. If you're the headmaster of Remgastelon, what does that mean, right? My first instinct is you have a head of each school of magic, and the headmaster is either a master of all 8 schools, or if that seems far-fetched, they are a master of 2. And that is the great achievement of their life, is that you become headmaster when you master a 2nd school of magic, right?
That's pretty cool.
And so everybody you meet at the academy has a reason to still be studying. You don't have somebody who's like, oh, I'm a master of conjuration, and that's it. You have somebody who's a master of conjuration and a expert of necromancy, and are trying to bring them into bear so that when the next season comes around, they can challenge the current headmaster.
They can have not the next season. I would say when the current headmaster dies off, one of the scaled trials kicks off, and it's the students of Remgastelon are like, one of us is gonna win this shit.
There's a special.
I get to be in charge.
There's a special game
fun.
that is, the Remgastelon trial is this huge. I love that because it's like
so funny.
1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Like anybody in their first 10 years of school bows out before the beginning of the competition. Nope. They go, absolutely not. I will die in 3 seconds. There's definitely some story in the past of some absolute psycho who had no magical power and became headmaster because they just cut the throats of everybody else in the competition. And so after that, they were like, we got to come up with a rule to sort of get out in front of that. You need to be able to cast a cantrip to qualify.
All right. Funny. Now, big question, because it's on the death of the headmaster, are there a lot of attempts at his life?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Now,
how often do they die?
Now, I do have to say, we are accidentally and this is not a problem. I love this as a nod on purpose. In Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, Color of Magic, one of the sort of central plot things going on is the headmaster of their arcane school is constantly under threat of being murdered. Like 24. People try to kill him like 55 times in Color of Magic. They describe like darts going off, like all kinds of stuff constantly being gone to try to kill whoever's above you. And they bring up like headmasters have many skills. The number one skill they all have is not being assassinated.
I like the idea that everybody who's trying to master a 2nd skill inevitably does abjuration.
It's
like,
just so...
I need to keep this shit safe.
And eventually you get the people that are like, oh yeah, be really careful around like Francis. Why? He's evocation conjuration. My man doesn't give a shit.
He's wild. He put his name in first The headmaster's not even dead yet.
I don't think he knows Shield. Right? Every year on January 1st, he files for the games just in case. In case it's that a year. All right, that's great.
So cool.
They are the former headmaster of Remgastelon. There is duel to decide the headmaster. What two schools of magic was this headmaster a beacon of?
Here's what I'm thinking. I think that below the academy there is the crypt of the scholars. So it's where all of the ones who are killed are entombed. This headmaster was locked away by the amalgam of level 1 to 5 students that survived and the dragon that like mans the keep. They have locked him up in this tomb. He has necromantic powers and has been essentially amassing an army and strength and ability to then rise and take over. So necromancy, school 1. His group that he's with, a bunch of fucking dead scholars that have been entombed for thousands of years, hundreds of years.
Yeah, so I think the logical jump then would be, if we want to go the kind of lich angle, it would be necromancy evocation, right? It would be really hard hitting. If we wanted to go a different path through it, we could do there is the sort of more nefarious, right? Like necromancy illusion, necromancy enchantment.
And if I could posture something just to make him a little bit cooler, even because he's already cool, have him be he was working on his third, just working on, he's adept at something or minor of something.
I would say it could be necromancy evocation and dabbling in illusion.
I like the thought that this is purely limited by time. Like, it's not that, learning a third school of magic is dangerous. It's like, no, it takes like 40 years to become a master in a school of magic. These people aren't, and this is a really important note, we're not talking about a 20th level wizard. We're talking about a like CR 20 wizard, right? Way beyond what a player will be able to attend because they would have become an NPC by this point. We're talking about somebody that is like such an intuitive master that they are so far above. So this guy just started to dabble into the third one and was interrupted, right? He might have been a Dragonborn and was taking advantage of those extra years to try to really nail that last thing. Because even as a Dragonborn, right, 250, you're still going to be kind of cutting it close at those higher levels because you can't let your skills in the other two schools slip. You are maintaining as you go. I'd like to make a pitch because we need a really compelling reason why a dragon hasn't gone down there and just dealt with this. I think that maybe he is very useful. What if it's necromancy divination?
Ooh,
and so even in their monstrous state, they are like, I think this monster is the seer of Remgastelon, this undying eternal diviner that the school can't get rid of because he or they speak prophecies that are always true, right? They speak prophecies with perfect accuracy. And so they never killed it. And then something happened and it got out. And, it turned out that it was unsurprisingly biding its time for 500 years and has escaped. And now somebody needs to go kill the seer of Remgastelon, this incredibly powerful necromancer who can, within reason, see the future.
In Theros, where it's like, these are the hooks if Heliod is your bad guy, or if Perforos is your bad guy. In our book, it would be, this is the hook if you want an undead creature as your bad guy, or you want it to take place in this area. But if it's not the bad guy you want, then it's your party, if they come to this town, should visit the seer to get something told to them, right? If it's not the bad guy, it's not the bad guy. But it could be the bad guy of your game.
And so
this bad guy rips.
And so what I like with that then is, so we have like Remgastelon. Below Remgastelon, we have like, the, whatever you want to call it, the necropolis, the ossuary. You have all of these buried dead things. I like the idea that I said ossuary because I love the image that the only reason they would keep these corpses on site is for like scholarly reasons. Scholarly reasons. Like they're skulls so that you can walk down with a book and cast Speak with Dead and go
Hey, what did you mean
there's
by
a
this?
footnote on page 10 and I don't understand. And they could be like, well, actually, like, and so
funny.
I love the idea that there are these halls of just skulls that you can speak to in emergencies. So you have all of these skulls. And then beneath that, there is the locked tomb. There is this final place that nobody ever enters. And so what you do is you enter, you ask a question of the seer, and all of these hundreds of skulls speak in chorus and speak a prophecy. And there's two kinds, right? You can try to ask a question, which I imagine has some risk attached to it that you'll get bonked by something, or there is somebody whose job it is to just sit in there and wait for the skulls to speak and write down whatever prophecies they speak. This is the coolest thing we've ever come up with.
So fucking cool.
All right, so we have our bad guy. We have the Seer of Remgastelon, a incredibly powerful master of the undead and divination that is undead themselves and monstrous, right? This isn't a wizard they locked in a dungeon. This is something else. This thing has changed.
If we want to name this place, something like the Crypt of Knowledge, or
I was trying to think of like the Tongueless Lecture Hall, like some shit.
Holy!
Like that, right?
That was off the dome?
Yeah, a minute ago I was thinking about him. Like, there's got to be something cool for these skulls.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Pretty sick.
I'm telling you something. I love it. The something lecture hall rips. The tongueless lecture hall is good. It may be a little chewy,
too wordy,
a little wordy, but it's not bad. You know what I mean? Like the silent lecture hall. Something like that. We're past time. We're 5 minutes past here. So I think, though, we can call this a success. This sort of high-level play, unfortunately, in this kind of format means that we are going to have to end. If we had spent the full time on this, we wouldn't have gotten much deeper. You know what I mean? No. We had 1 hour. So we have the former headmaster of Remgastelon, who was locked away and is now the Seer of Remgastelon, this undying thing that they can't kill because it is too valuable, that speaks through this massive chorus of skulls speaking these prophecies into the world. And you either encounter it as this thing that you might do a favor for Remgastelon, and in turn they will allow you to pose a question to the Seer. That is one of the things they sort of trade. Or this is the campaign build of this to me would be the players are fighting undead. Right, you're dealing with these like cults, these undead. We'd probably throw, for those of you, for longtime listeners, nowhere would this incredibly powerful undead would appear, and you'd be figuring out, and you would start to see signs that these things are coming from the imprisoned Seer, who it turns out is not imprisoned. They are waiting. They are biding their time for some alignment of arcane energy that will allow them to free themselves, and then they do, and that's the last arc of the campaign. Is, you know, the party races back to Remgastelon as fast as they can to find it already in ruins. I don't think you could destroy. I love the image that you find Remgastelon floating. Like the bottom floor has been destroyed in the escape, and Remgastelon just didn't fall. It's just still hanging in the sky. And so you have to try to go track down and kill the Seer of Remgastelon. And that's your sort of end of campaign vibe. That's pretty good.
And with that, we have created our own world's version of a lich.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, okay. That's very interesting. Yeah, maybe, that might be kind of fun. There are no liches in Prospect. There are necromancers who died. Necromancers who changed become these undying things that are these amalgams of souls and bones and live these eternal lives, sort of in a haze of magic, unable to focus or even think about anything else. They just pursue magic that they can't even really know anymore. Wow. Pretty good.
All right, gang. With that, we're concluding the DM Writers Room. Thank you all for tuning in. You can catch this stream, same time, same day, every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8:30 p.m., depending on how we let things ride. Besides that, you can catch our actual play D&D Theros live stream, same channel on YouTube, and that is Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, where we share memes and tips and tricks, DMs and GMs. And we published our adventure, The Lich's Dollhouse. It's $3 on DriveThruRPG or itch.io. So check that out. Cough up the change. We think it's a pretty fun adventure. So thank you.
And our second one's coming out soonish.
Yeah, second one's coming out pretty soon.
The first one had a couple of monsters that are pretty tied to the dungeon, but you certainly could employ them. The second one, I'm very excited to say, the monsters we purposefully, and it was a lot more work, can sort of be applied a little bit more laterally. They have some roles in the world, and we kind of explain the way that they would function separate from the adventure. So if you wanted to jot them down on a note card and sort of add them to your running monstrous list, or go through the incredibly arduous process of putting them into D&D Beyond, it takes like an hour, but it is worth it once they're in there. I've done it with some monsters that I really like, but that's coming sort of down the line. That's Void's Eye Observatory. If you want a sneak peek, go just dig through, get a shovel and dig through 900 VODs until you find the one for the Void's Eye Observatory.
Yeah, true. So check that out. Keep your eyes peeled for our next adventure. Purchase our other one that we published a couple weeks ago.